Hey everyone, D4DC here. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of 5 Block Friday, where this week we're taking a look at one of the oldest Easter eggs in the game, that being the Jeb sheep. If you don't know, you can take any sheep and name it Jeb, all lowercase, with an underscore at the end, and it will turn into a hue-shifting sheep whose wool constantly shifts between all the colors of wool available for sheep. However, if you take this sheep and you shear it, it will always just drop whatever color of wool it was originally. This isn't really a bug or an issue, it makes sense from a technical and game balance perspective, but I thought it would be a fun challenge to try to update this to drop random colored wool with just 5 command blocks, which is what these commands here do. So I'm going to grab some items to just do some experimenting and showcasing. But with these commands, now any sheep named Jeb will drop a random assortment of colored wool when it is sheared. The number of wool dropped should stay the same as if you sheared it when it was a normal sheep, but the color of each drop will be randomized. This also works if you kill the sheep. The drops from the sheep are also randomized. And if you take a sheep that is named Jeb and unname it, it goes back to normal and it will drop its normal items when you shear it. Well, that is it for the functionality of these command blocks. So now let's take a look at what these commands actually are. This first command takes care of adding a marker item to Jeb sheep so that we can identify their loot after they have been killed. To start, we execute as all sheep who are named Jeb who are not currently sheared. Then we check to see if they already have the custom marker item in their body slot. This is an equipment slot that is normally only used by wolves and horses to store their armor, but it exists for most living entities and can be used for adding custom items or items with custom enchantment. Once we've identified our target sheep, we use a data merge command to modify both their equipment and some other NBT values. We set the item in the body slot to be a piece of mutton with some custom data. This is so that if the commands are ever disabled, the item that is in their body slot will still be usable in vanilla. It just won't be stackable with other pieces of mutton. This piece of mutton also has the custom tag, and we add an equipable tag to make sure that it cannot be sheared from the sheep by accident. We also modify the drop chances for the sheep so that it is guaranteed to drop the item that is in its body slot when it is killed. Our second command takes care of modifying the wool that has been dropped from Jeb sheep that have been killed. To start, we execute as all items which have an age of 0. That means they have spawned within the past game tick. Then we check if the item stored within the item entity is any color of wool. If that's the case, we update our execution position to match this item entity, and then we check for another item entity that contains our custom marker item created in the last command within 0.1 blocks of this item. If all those checks pass, we use a loot command to replace the contents of this item entity with the results of this inline loot table. This loot table has the same format as those that would be stored in a data pack. It has one roll, which means we only grab one item from the list of entries, and the list of entries is every single type of wool in the game. The third command takes care of removing our marker item from the world. It is run in a chain command block, so it will run the same tick as the previous command, but after the other loot items have already been updated. The command itself is very straightforward. We just use the kill command to kill all item entities that have our custom item contained in them. The fourth command takes care of removing the marker item from sheep who have been sheared or who are no longer named Jeb. To start, we execute as all sheep entities. Then we only continue if they have the custom item in their body slot. Then we stop if they are named Jeb and are currently not sheared. If we've made it this far, we simply replace the item in the entity's body slot with air, which is the same as removing it. The fifth command takes care of modifying the wool drops from sheep who have been sheared. These first three subcommands do the same exact thing that they do in command number 2. They find any wool items that have been summoned within the past tick and update the execution position to match those wool items. Next, we move our position to be 1 block beneath this recently spawned wool item, and then we check to see if a sheep named Jeb, who has been sheared, is within 0.1 blocks of that location. When a sheep is sheared, the wool always spawns exactly 1 block above the coordinate position of that sheep entity. If we've made it this far, we are reasonably certain that this wool item came from shearing a Jeb sheep, and so we run the same loot command that we ran in command number 2. That is all for this episode. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please consider leaving a like or a comment. And if you want to see more of these 5 command block creations, make sure to subscribe so you can catch the rest of the season. That said, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I hope to see you all in the future.